Hello, friends. I'm sharing my personal practice with you today. So I won't offer the same level of teaching that I do in my other videos. What I am aiming to share with you today is how I've modified my practice over time. I'm now 63 years old, so I need to do things a little differently than I did when I was 33, 43, or even 53. And as a result, I feel as young as ever, and my body actually feels better than ever. The older we get, the more we realize less is more. On the other hand, this is also true that we need to focus more and more on strength and balance. So I think you'll see that as I offer this practice. This is a practice where I'm feeling more energy, and I have the intention today to really work on the strength and the balance. So you'll see all the strength and the balance postures that help me to stay balanced, not just within my body, but also within my emotions and my mind. So let's get started. My favorite warm-up is still the seated warm-up with a firm cross of the shins. You can always put support under you if you need it. I'm not going to use supports today in my practice. You can see that I do have them and I do use them regularly, but just for efficacy in terms of demonstrating the practice, I'm not going to use them, but please feel free to use them for yourself. Fingers tented out to the side, finding the breath, and establishing the ocean breath. And then inhaling one arm up, always keeping the whole body engaged and active, warming up the joints. Exhale down. Inhale, other arm up, feeling the difference right away between the two sides. They are different. Exhale down. And then again, to really juice up those joints, we want to move at least 3 times. I like to anyway. We do more, but I would say at least 3 times. And spreading my awareness to all of the posture, not just to the part that's moving. Focusing on what has to stay stable in order for other things to be mobile. And enjoying the freedom of the mobility because I have that support of the stability. And then inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, twist. And this is where I always find out how sticky it feels through the ribs. Front ribs, back ribs, side ribs. Inhale, reach up, get that length through the side body, and exhale, trying to maintain that. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, without sinking or shrinking. And making sure that it's the breath that's making the movement. Inhaling the arms up. Exhaling, rotating the ribs. They're already feeling a little less sticky. Back to the starting position, other ankle in front. And then inhale, lift, and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold forward. And getting that sense of Inhaling, floating up on the breath. Exhaling, pouring forward. Coming forward before down on that out breath. And that felt great on my left hip. And I want to get that into my right hip. So I'll just pause and rest here this time. Inhale, get the space. Exhale, maintain it. So only coming forward insofar as I can prevent any sinking or shrinking. And now that I'm all warmed up, coming into downward facing dog. Simply feeling what's going on here in my arms, my shoulders, again, my ribs, lots of sensation there, and of course the back of the legs. Lifting up and back, pressing down and back. Main thing is moving back. And then as I'm ready, inhaling to plank, exhaling, lower down. So today I feel like I can do the chaturanga. Other days it's more of a 8-pointed pose situation. Inhaling into Bhujangasana. Exhaling back to that downward facing dog. So part of the sun salutation, not all of it there. Inhaling that right leg up behind. Exhaling, pulling it forward, setting down that right foot, setting down that left heel. And inhaling, finding my warrior one. Taking some time here, setting it up, being here. And that breath to find the fullest expression. And exhale, moving into pyramid pose. Again, a moment to arrive. A few breaths of being here. Fullest expression. And then inhaling, coming up halfway, exhaling, finding my revolved triangle, Parivriti Trikonasana. Just exploring here, seeing what's available today. Coming out, coming into a lunge, stepping that left foot forward, inhaling, rising up, exhaling, coming right back down through, touch the earth. Inhale, prepare, and exhale, walking back again to that downward facing dog. And I'll come through that vinyasa. Plank to Bhujangasana. Exhale, downward facing dog. Not spending so much time here this time. Moving right onto the other side. Inhale to reach up and back. Exhale, planting that left foot. Planting that right heel. Finding warrior one on the other side. Again, just enjoying arriving, maintaining, and then fullest expression before moving on. Pyramid pose. There's a moment where you feel that you've really opened up into the posture. That's when I'm ready to move on to the next pose, revolve triangle. Just testing this side a little different. I don't feel like I can get my right hand to the outside of the left foot, and I'd rather stay stable, so that's what I'm doing. And exhale, release. And of course, these are all balancing poses in some way. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, step that right foot forward. Inhale, get some space. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to the heart. And then from here, going into my first one-legged balancing pose, warrior three. In some ways, this is a lot like pyramid pose. And I think that's important to recognize. Just as in pyramid pose, we want that back leg to be strong. We tend to focus on the standing leg, which in a way we should. But, as you can see, I'm struggling here. But not really. I'm just accepting that this is a little hard to do, maybe because I'm talking while I'm doing it. Although as a teacher, I do quite a bit of that. There you go, second try. Was able to get it. And then inhaling, circling up. Exhaling, pulling it down through, touch the earth. Inhale, prepare, and exhale, step back to downward facing dog. And then step that right foot forward and come to face you. And to face the long edge of my mat for what I call the side standing poses. There's so many different variations that you can do with all of these postures. I like to keep my personal practice just simple. I'm taking a class with Janet Stone, who's one of my favorite teachers, and she's a dancer, and she does these beautiful sequencing, and she invents these amazing variations on every posture. So I certainly love to do that. But in my personal practice, it's simple, really simple. I don't do anything fancy other than just, the poses that I'm working on. So coming into warrior two, inhaling arms up, exhaling sliding forward, staying in that back leg, using that breath two ways. Inhale, expanding, exhale, moving into the fullness of the posture. And inhaling, reverse warrior. I usually just do one of these. I feel this is an important pose. And when I say one of these, I really meant to say I'm going to do one cycle of breath here and then find my way. I feel it's really a prep for my side angle pose because I want to keep this part of the body open and spacious, even though it's compacting here. So reverse warriors to prepare for side angle. And then I like to do the bind. And then moving from side angle into half moon. This is probably my favorite pose. Just like warrior three is a lot like pyramid pose, but only on one leg. This is kind of like triangle, but only on one leg. So then moving, landing back in triangle. So this particular sweep sequence, I'm sure you've seen many times before, but for me, it's the best prep for really enjoying my triangle pose and feeling that I'm in my fullest expression here. And just feeling what is opening, what is strengthening. And again, we might think, oh, warrior one and half moon are the balancing poses that I've worked on so far. These are all balancing poses. All the standing poses are balancing poses. I have fallen out of this pose before, and I've seen many students do the same. Inhale. No one ever got hurt, fortunately. Spinning on that tightrope. Finding that warrior two on the other side. Again, using the breath to open, expand, reach. On the inhale and on the exhale, find that groundedness. How far can I sit into the posture? So even in the standing poses, we're looking to sit into the posture. And then a little word about the neck. So I'm turning the neck here to look, and I look to the other way on the other side. And then when we go into the reverse, I'm looking up without losing space in the back of the neck. And then on the exhale, side angle, I'm turning the neck to look up. Finding the posture, finding the bind. So I don't tend to isolate my neck work in my yoga practice. I tend to just let it happen naturally as you turn your head and neck with the postures. And then moving into that half moon, Ardha Chandrasana. Looking up if possible. It's really the best way to keep your balance is to look up here. Prana goes where the attention flows, or where the attention goes, prana flows. Sorry, that's how it goes. And so if you're looking down, the energy goes down. And again, landing in triangle. And just taking a little rest here. Pulling that left armpit chest area forward. Rotating the ribs. Reaching out of the left wrist and up through the right. So much going on here. And again, little neck movement. Make sure your neck is comfortable in every posture. And inhale to come up and out. And then, I really don't love goddess pose, but I've learned that it's a really important pose. You can use it to transition into those side standing postures. And it's just incredibly good for this inner line of the leg and strengthening the outer line of the leg, and just the meaning what this pose embodies is so important. It's also called horse or temple, but I always just call it goddess pose. And I like to use this to take a little shoulder dip, and that just really opens those right ribs, side ribs in particular, but the back ribs too. So it's both especially if I'm bringing that right armpit chest area forward, it's really opening the ribs in every direction. Inhale through center, and exhale. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, come out of the posture. And like I said, all the postures that I've done so far, other than the seated postures, are balancing postures. But I feel it's really important to work on the one-legged balancing postures, which I have done a couple of those. But this is where I come to the practice with just looking to practice the balancing poses. So the easier ones for me that I kind of warm up with are tree, setting that drishti, hugging that outer right hip in, which I've also been doing throughout the front-facing and side-standing poses as well. That outer hip all warmed up, ready to go. So that would be the tree pose, and then Garudasana, eagle pose, opposite arm on top, opposite leg on top. And then that moment of flying out of the pose where you almost go into, here's where I'm headed, right? And on some days, I can actually come out of this pose into that. But this isn't one of those days. So, all right. And then other arm on top, opposite leg on top. Again, we check. All right. So I'm wondering how my sort of ultimate balancing practice is going to go here, because my balancing postures have not been that easy today. And to be honest, I've had a rough week, so I haven't done this practice as often as I usually do. And it is so important to practice regularly. And obviously, again, sometimes you can't. And so this is my day of getting back into it. Uttita Hasta Padangustasana. Leg out in front. And out to the side. And then the twist. I'll turn a bit so you can see what's happening here. Okay, well, that went a little better than expected. So that's the main standing practice that I do. Sometimes Adding the standing lunge in is good. This is definitely a balancing pose. And then on the exhale, see, I had to put my foot down there, but you can practice several times and get to the point where you don't have to. So this really helps with balance. And this is where you get to do your crane variations, right? Let's try the other side, just see. Now see, that time I focused more on the four corners of the standing leg foot. So that's one lesson I've really learned in my yoga practice. We tend to focus on this leg that's moving, and then this leg doesn't get the attention it needs, the energy that it needs, because again, we're prana flows where the attention goes. So if I put the attention on the standing leg, there we go. So much better. Standing leg. So at least coming here, maybe here. So you can see how this would be a prep for either just the leg out in front or to the side. So then I would try something a little more challenging. If my energy is low, then I would do legs up the wall, Viparita Karani. It's a great way to get the inversion. But I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm going to go for my headstand. I could stay here longer, but really just share today now. I listen to my body and do what I can and let go of what I can't. And even though I did a headstand today, I will do Viparita Karani legs up the wall later because it's such a much more relaxing pose. This is a great pose just to energize and to explore and to just see what you can do, what you can't do. Now I'm really warmed up for the back bends. So I like to start with downward facing dog and find as much of a back bend as I can in that upper spine without losing any space in the back of the neck. Getting those arms open, armpits open. Yeah. And then coming into camel. Again, really focusing on the upper spine, lifting into the heart. Getting nice lengthening from the pubis to the navel. Protecting my low back by lifting the ribs up out of the waist, engaging the glutes, and dropping the glutes down actively. And then from there, coming down to a Sphinx. And of course, Bhujangasana. Did that earlier. Now, a lot more freedom there. And then, upward facing dog. Pulling the heart forward. Lengthening through the tailbone and the sacrum. And again, just using the breath. Finding that space on the inhale. That steadiness. No sinking or shrinking on the exhale. And then coming down, going for the downward facing bow, Dhanurasana. And people always want to do a child's pose after they do a back bend. You need to do a twist first. It's really extreme for the spine to go from a back bend. So when I do my back bends, I just do them all together. So building off of the heat and the flexibility, the juiciness from one pose to the next. Bridge, Satchitanasana. Again, it's been a rough week, so I haven't done upward facing Dhanurasana in a while, but that bridge is feeling very accessible, so I'm going to try and see what happens if I go to Dhanurasana. There's a lot of things I need to work on here. Just being able to get into it sometimes is a win. If I could straighten out my arms more, that would be awesome. Working on it. It's a practice, not perfect. So then this is where you can go into all kinds of twists. Just a nice gentle one to start off with. A reclining twist. Allowing the spine to still be in a tiny back bend here, but especially allowing the lower spine to start to move out of the back bend. So this is really perfect because we're moving slowly out of the back bend, allowing the body to integrate all the benefits that come from back bending, which are absolutely enormous. Really one of the most beneficial categories of postures. Really opening the heart, the chest, the armpit chest area, strengthening the arms, opening up the hip flexors, so really good for the pelvis as well. And then from here, I'll do a couple more twists. Marichyasana variation. It's really setting up the foundation, which are the legs, the sit bones, the feet. And just exploring the mobility that's available from there. Counter twist. And then starting to move in towards that forward fold. So letting the back body open, but this is actually still a twist. I'm going to make the bind, but then I'm pulling the right rib around towards that left leg. Now that low back is opening even more. And then again, this is still a little bit of a twist, but again, moving more now towards those forward folds that we want at some point after the back bends. And other side. I think this is the easiest twist right here. That's why I start with this, well, besides the reclining twist, the easiest seated upright twist. Again, really establishing the sit bones, the feet, legs strong. Counter twist. Moving more into the forward fold, but still keeping a little twisting action there. Pulling that left rib cage down. And opening up that back body even more. Another Marichyasana variation. Trying to bring the left rib down, letting that right rib be buoyant. Strong legs, strong feet, open shoulders and arms. And so those are the basic poses that I really want to do on a really regular basis for the strength and the balance. And of course, back bends, super important for mental health and physical health, spinal health. But I always love Upavista Konasana. Great finishing pose. Paschimottanasana, not quite as easy. That's why I do the Upavista Konasana first. Of course, you could do Shavasana after this, but those 4 poses that I did at the end, not the Upavista Konasana, but the sort of twisting, forward folding postures. And then once you can do all of those, you are permitted in the Iyengar tradition to use Paschimottanasana as your final relaxation pose. So you would stay there for longer than I did. And or you can simply melt into Shavasana. So I'm interested to know if this was helpful in any way to do something a little different from what I usually do. Not so much trying to teach you yoga, more just sharing with you my own journey and what's happening for me right now, what poses I'm focusing on to maintain strength and balance in my 63rd year. So any feedback that you would like to give me as to how this may have supported you in some way, that would be so helpful to me. I would really appreciate it. All right. Thanks a lot. Namaste.